Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, everybody.
So on this quick shot of romance, we're reviewing Heathens by Alta Hensley. We'll link the synopsis of the book on the shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. Is Alta Hensley one of your new to you authors for this year?
She is. Yes.
Okay. So you've never read anything else by her?
No, I haven't. This is my first one.
So I read she did a duet with Renee Rose that was Mafia that I really liked. She did A Dangerous Press Alice in Wonderland retelling that was very good. I really liked that. But this book, Heathens, can be read as a complete standalone. I want to be clear about that. It is 100% a standalone book.
It is.
But it is a spin-off from her Gods Among Men trilogy. Now, I only read book 1 and book 2 of that because book 3 is Why Choose. And Why Choose is just not my gig.
No, not for me either. I didn't realize the third one was.
But the first two are great. And I think Alta Hensley does enemies to lovers like exceptionally well. Book 1 is very they hate each other.
Oh yeah, and
it's true enemies to lovers. So I also want to talk about a little bit before we get into all the breakdown. Alta Hensley has a very unique writing style.
She does. It's very poetic.
It is poetic.
I think you were saying that.
Yeah, it's not like. So I feel like A.L. Jackson writes in verse.
Yes.
There's
absolutely.
a rhythm and almost a lyrical sense to how A.L. Jackson writes. Alta Hensley does not write poetically like that. It's not lyrical. It's repetitive. And you will slowly start to see repeats of phrases. Like almost a mantra through the whole book.
Okay. You'll have to tell me. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I picked up on that.
So like she says constantly, he's my dad's best friend. And if you look at where it comes into a sentence, it comes after long descriptive sentences.
Okay.
So there's a pattern to how Alta Hensley writes. Some people find that annoying. I actually find comfort in it. I like how she writes.
Sorry.
It's okay. So release date is January 5th of 2024. Tropes are dad's best friend, age gap, small town, pining hero, stalker.
Yes.
He stalks like a god.
Her. Yes,
like it's his job. I would classify him as an unexpected protector. He does not work in security of any kind. He does not have a military background. He is not a police officer, but he is protector.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's very protective.
And this is forbidden as far as a trope goes because it's a very large age gap and dad's best friend.
Yes.
Now, if you listen to our Buzzing After Dark episodes that are over on Patreon, we will give you a breakdown of kink. And I felt that in this book, it was important that we talk about the two very dominant kinks that were in this book.
Yes. There is a very, very heavy primal kink.
Very heavy primal kink. And it is absolutely the chase. You are hunted. Yeah. It's a lot. And then there is the absolute dom, submissive, and punishment kink.
Yes. Heavy punishment.
And he does a little bit of degradation. He calls her names.
Yeah, he does a little bit.
So, point of view, it was dual first person, right?
Yes. Yes.
There is a third act breakup. So, next thing. You need to check content warnings if you're going to read this book. Yes, it does say it is a dark romance. this is consensual non-consent, because in this book, our heroine's story consents to what happens to her in some respects, but in
And not in
others,
others.
there's no consent. Um, there is also mention of murdering of a parent and stalking. There are zero content warnings, trigger warnings from the author.
Yeah, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize that at all until I saw your note, and I was like, oh, there aren't.
Well, and that's bad on me because I did suggest this title. I'm aware that this author writes dark and pushes the boundaries, and I don't know if in her previous books she's ever put content warnings.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bother for me. I mean, I knew going in it was going to be a dark romance, so it wasn't, like I said, I didn't even register the fact that there wasn't a content warning until you said it, like after I had already read it. So it didn't bother me, but I could see where it would bother some people if they don't know going in, because the first like non-consensual kind of scene is, it's pretty graphic.
It is pretty graphic. Um, so one of the things I want to talk about a little bit is the age gap, because we do not know how big of an age gap this is.
No, and for somebody like me that has a little bit of a problem with that dynamic sometimes, I liked the fact that I didn't really know how old they were, how big the age gap was, but they made clear that she was over 18 the whole time, that they were crushing on each other or whatever.
Well, there's a scene that's a flashback where he spanks her because she went and got drunk at a party and crashed her dad's car while trying to parallel park it.
Yes.
But it doesn't say if this was a high school party, if it was an underage drinking, or nothing. But she comes to him for help and he pulls her pants down and spanks her.
I did go back and look because I was searching for the age difference. She doesn't meet him until she's 18. So
Okay.
she's over 18.
So she's over 18. Okay.
So yeah, that's why I was kind of like, I liked the fact that they made it clear that she was 18, but they don't ever really discuss how large the age gap is.
So that makes me feel a little better because that scene, I'm thinking, was she 16 and he spanked her? Like,
Yeah,
what?
I looked.
Um, so our hero in this book is Locke. He is the owner of the Vault, which is a sex club on Heathens Hollow, which is an island in the Pacific Northwest off the coast of Seattle, about 2.5 hours by ferry or boat.
Yes.
So I do like that the author gave us geographical kind of help there without being like, it's this specific place.
Yeah, because you can kind of like imagine this isolated little area, which also gives it kind of like a spooky vibe and leans into the whole vibe of the book, I think.
Well, when you start reading the prologue, and she does this in her God Among Men series, you don't know if this is contemporary or if this is paranormal. The way she writes, there's a fantastical sense to the mist and the lore of the island. So, and they have these, like in Gods Among Men, they have names of gods. So you're like, wait, am I reading like mythology erotica or am I reading, contemporary or dark? And I think that that's really great the way she writes it.
Yeah, it was really spooky. And when we were talking about the poeticism of the way she writes, like that's the part I was thinking about, is how she kind of like, when she leads into this book, and it's very storytelling. Like you said, you don't know if you're in like a myth. Like it's very like different, otherworldly, I guess.
Yeah. And there are definitely two sets of people on the island. There are the uber rich, which are somehow associated to the Godwin family. And Locke himself is associated to the Godwin family. He owns the vault and is also an successful billionaire that has a connection to some of the underdealings.
Yeah, I don't know that we really get like the exact kind of thing he does, but there's like hints, I think.
Yeah. And Story meets Locke because her dad worked for the Godwin family as an enforcer.
And he's best friends with.
Yeah. And Locke and her dad were best friends.
Yeah,
And her dad is dead. He was murdered. And that does become a plot point later on in this book.
it does. And I won't spoil anything, but I really like how that whole plot point played out in the very end.
I did. But what I want to talk about is, and this is in the blurb, and I think this is why it was okay that there weren't, it's not okay that there aren't trigger warnings. That's not what I'm saying. I think that part of the reason we were okay not having a trigger warning page was because in the blurb, the author writes the blurb in such a way that we know some of what's going to come forward. And
yeah, it's clear.
one of the big pieces in this book is the hunt. It is a age-old tradition on the island of Heathens Hollow that starting in the fall to the winter for a series of 4 weekends around the
I
full
think
moon.
it ends up being 4.
They have what they call the hunt. Single women, young single women, a register that they will participate in the hunt. They put a red light on their front porch that they're given, and they have to dress in a white linen nightgown on their doorstep. When they hear the call for the hunt, they run.
The whistle, yeah.
And the men that sign up for the hunt, that pay to hunt, chase the women through the woods, and have sex with them.
Yes, while they're wearing a bone mask.
While they're wearing a bone mask.
Of like a
stag.
A deer carcass stag, yeah.
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 Yes. And the women then are paid in not only cash, but presents in a high-end luxury gift basket.
Yeah. So, and so the previous years were not up to the owners of the vault standards. So they basically egged the guys on to do better this year. So, which I thought was funny.
So, Story is talked into participating in the hunt this year by her best friend Fiore,
who participated the previous year.
Yeah, who participated the previous year and is participating again. And Story is struggling. She works as a fishmonger, and she works as a catering waitress. She's doing everything she can to keep her head above water because when her dad died, she had no money. And now Locke has offered her money, but she doesn't feel comfortable taking money from him.
No, and he keeps telling her that, it was from her father, but she knows that's not true because her father was, notorious for getting into business deals and losing all of their money every time he had some.
Yeah. And while there absolutely were times, I never thought Story was the typical too stupid to live damsel in distress type character. She absolutely is not a femme fatale, though.
No, she's not.
She was... There are moments where I thought she lacked common sense, but she had an unexpected strength about her.
She did. She was kind of surprising because I thought at times I was going to be like, oh, this girl, I don't know. But then she would, then she would rally and you'd see the backbone, and she was definitely like a contrast a little bit at times, but I enjoyed it.
So, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the role that Locke plays in the hunt, like it was pretty obvious to me what was going to happen with Story and the hunt. And that's where we say, like, Story ends up getting spanked because she went to the club, and Locke had told her not to go. And so this is where the non-consensual, she didn't consent to that to come into. But she did consent to being hunted, and you're not supposed to know the identity of your hunter.
No.
Let me see. Was there anything else that I had big thoughts on? I will say I felt like the pacing, it's only 251 pages on the book. The ending was a little slow.
Yeah, it was a little slow. And I think I was kind of like I got to the end and I really wanted like another chase scene at the end. Like I was a little upset. I was
I
like,
wanted more Hunt. I
I did
don't,
too.
I felt like it was supposed to be this big plot point, but we didn't get a ton of it. We get
No,
two hunting scenes, and I really, at the end, wanted them to hunt again.
did too.
She obviously would know who her chaser was, but like I wanted that. I wanted that kind of bringing that back, that full circle.
Yeah, I felt the same. I think that was my my biggest thing was like I wanted more of that.
Um, so in your question here on the doc, are the business partners going to get books? I hope so. And
Right?
I will slide into Alta Hensley's DMs and I will ask, but I kind of hope so. Um,
Yeah.
because there's a scene at the end, which I was nervous about the scene at the end when he
Which one?
takes her after they've gotten all back together after their breakup and he takes her to the
Uh-huh.
vault
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah. Okay.
girl that's
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
table servicing all the business partners and it forces Story to speak up.
Yeah, I was glad that she was forceful about that. I was like, "Oh no, let's not let this happen right here."
That's what I was like. I was starting to get mad. Like I was
Yeah.
like, what is happening? Um, I was having a moment. So I do hope the business partners get books. I would also like to see Story's best friend
Her
Fiore
friend. Yeah, I think so too.
because she's
But yeah, the
spicy.
she is, and I think the oh my gosh, I'm having a okay, Bracken, his one business partner, who you see the most of in this book, like he's very interesting. Like I would be, and the
Yeah,
other two obviously, but you see the most of Bracken. I think he needs a book.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And then you have another question. Go ahead, ask me the question.
Oh, did you read the bonus epilogue?
I did not.
I didn't either.
I didn't need
So
it. I didn't need it. I feel like Locke and Story, he showed her that he's not only her dom and her protector, he supports her and he wants to make her life better. And I think that this is where like billionaire romances when we get the I'm an independent female and I'm not taking shit from him. Are you kidding? He
I know.
has the money and the means to help you realize your dream.
Yeah.
Take the stupid car. Take the building. Paint for a living. Like, do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And you're getting
Yeah.
some good dick while you do it. Like, come on. I don't
I
know.
know. It was a little, I was, she protested a little too much, but the only reason I asked if you read it is because I think she says that it's a deleted, like steamy scene that would have gotten the book banned.
Oh,
So that's why I asked if you'd read it. I was gonna go read it and then I just started doing something else. But yeah, I don't think it's like an extra like extended. It's
a
she said it was a
deleted
scene that
scene.
was too hot. It was too hot to put in the book. So I wonder if it's another chase scene.
Oh, maybe that's our extra chase scene.
Yeah.
Oh, and I didn't mention I have a
Oh
huge
yeah.
critique of this book.
Yes. Yes. I was waiting on it.
There's a butt sex scene, and there's no lube and no prep. Like
Nope.
nothing.
No. It is.
It is dry as fucking
I
bones.
was I was like, I don't know how that happened. Like,
Especially
no.
if you read the first chase scene. Well, when you read one of their first interactions, you're like, oh, he's a romance
Yeah.
hero with romance
Oh
hero
yeah.
size.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was it was
I
I was waiting on it.
I was like, really? Nothing? Like,
No.
not even any spit. Like,
Nothing. That like zero. Nothing. Nothing.
I don't know. Listen, I think that from now on, I'm buying romance authors lube and just shipping it to their
Send
houses.
it to them. Just send it.
Be like, hello, thank you for writing this book. I would like to give you lube.
I mean, it would have been like at least something because that one I was like, oh man. I was
Yeah,
like, that's not good.
no, it was not. Anyway, I enjoyed this book. I'm glad you enjoyed this book.
Yes.
Uh, thank you for reading it with me.
Yes. Thanks for telling me about it. It was really good. I liked it.
Until next time, everybody, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.